We're reading chapter 4 of the Madhya Lila, Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. And let's see, yesterday we read chapter 3. Who would like to recap what we read last night? There are a lot of things. Everybody just say one little thing. Go ahead. Don't all jump at once.
Well,
I think that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas and was headed out, and then his friends kind of ambushed him because they wanted to hang out with him.
That was a good synopsis. Ambushed him. Of course, it wasn't an ambush. What was it?
no. I think his mother, Sachi Mata, and the devotees didn't really want to have him go to Vrindavan because they wouldn't be able to see him. And who could blame them? Because if the Lord was in front of you, why would you want to have him be away from you? So they devised this plan to tell him that the Ganges was really the Yamuna River and that he was in Vrindavan. But when he didn't have a second pair of underwear after his bath, they showed up with clean underwear and then revealed to him that, that he was still on the Ganges River. And anyway, then ensued a festival after festival, and his mother came and the devotees, and it ended with a plan for him to go to Jagannath Puri so his mother could hear news of him, and sometimes he would come bathe at the Ganges, so everybody was happy. But his desire to go to Vrindavan, I guess, was not fulfilled.
Yes, at least not yet. There's some parallels here. For us, we consider Lord Chaitanya to be Krishna, and all of the people in his pastimes, we say, well, this one is actually Mother Yashoda appearing, and all the different people in Krishna's pastimes appear in Chaitanya's Leela. So just like when Krishna left Vrindavan, that was really painful, and so this is compared to Krishna's Leela. He had this happy life. We're going to come back to that. We'll read that after we go all the way through. Then we'll read the Adi Leela, which goes into really deep philosophy about who Lord Chaitanya is, and who all of these other people are, and what is trying to be accomplished here. I just thought, let's read the story, because this is actually the way I read it. When these books came out, they just started having classes on them as the books were published. They would read them, and I was a new devotee, and we had a class at night, and so I would just hear these stories, and I couldn't pronounce most of the names. I just thought, these sound like really nice people, putting on all these festivals for each other, and okay. Anything else? Mucha, we didn't hear from you. What do you have to say about what we read last night?
Just the rasa of service and how Lord Nityananda, his character. This morning I was able to lead the kirtan, and the whole glorification was just informed by yesterday's reading, and I was thinking how necessary it is to hear in order to chant. We're supposed to hear and then chant, and so yesterday we heard about Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, and they're totally different demeanors and ways of interacting lovingly with their devotees. And we have Gauranitai deities at home, and so when I was singing to them, for them, I was just so, I was looking at Lord Nityananda. They both look exactly the same on the altar, but when you hear, because I heard, I was able to distinguish their different characteristics. So I was really grateful for that. You know, I was able to kind of think of Lord Nityananda as this super funny, avadut, just cheeky, transcendental, you know, madman, and then Lord Chaitanya as a more can't really describe his glories very well, but he's got a different character, a different mood, and yeah, I was just really grateful to have heard so that I could chant better.
Cheeky, that's a pretty bold term. Uh, do they use that term in South Africa, Anandi?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Will, have you ever heard that term used in, let's see, where are you now? Are you still around Kingsport?
Uh-huh. Yeah, Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
You mean cheeky?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Do people use that?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I hear it.
They still use some old language out there.
Yeah.
I've heard it. I've heard it. Tote that over yonder and don't tarry none. I've heard that. And Muchu, I like what you said about hearing the pastimes, and then when you do a kirtan, you're thinking about it. About you're applying the kirtan, you're applying what you've heard into the kirtan, and it increases your meditation. One time, Will was at our house. He plays violins too, and we were recording a kirtan. Mahara was singing, and Will was playing the violin, and we made a really nice recording. And then Mahara commented
Nice.
when we were done. He said, "I was just thinking about I forget what it was. I think it was Krishna leaving Vrindavan and how everybody was so sad, and um, so she was thinking about that while that was something she'd been reading about. Um, she applied that to the kirtan.
Yeah. Yeah, it increases the meditation when you know who you're singing to.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, that's great. Good stuff here. So that kind of gives some direction to our reading. So here we go. Anandi, would you like to read text 1?
I offer my respectful obeisance unto Mahavendra Puri, who was given a pot of sweet rice stolen by Sri Gopinatha, celebrated thereafter as Krishna Kora. Is it Krishna or Shira Kora? Being
Shira,
pleased,
Shora.
Shira Kora. Being pleased by Mahavendra Puri's love, Sri Gopala, the deity at Govardhana, appeared to the public vision. All
And
glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to
Waiter.
Advaita Prabhu. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. The Lord went to Jagannath Puri and visited Lord Jagannath's temple. He also met with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. All these pastimes have been very elaborately explained by Vrindavan Thakur in his book Chaitanya Bhagavata. By nature, all the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet. And when they are described by Vrindavan Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar.
Therefore, I very humbly submit that since these incidents have already been nicely described by Vrindavan Thakur, I would be very proud to repeat the same thing, and this would not be very good. I do not have such powers. I am therefore presenting only a synopsis of those events already described elaborately by Vrindavan Thakur in his Chaitanya Mangal, now known as Chaitanya Bhagavat. Some of the incidents he did not describe elaborately, but only summarized, and these I shall try to describe in this book. I thus offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vrindavan Das Thakur. I hope that I will not offend his lotus feet by this action. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded toward Jagannath Puri with 4 of his devotees, and he chanted the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna mantra, with great eagerness.
And Will, you see
Okay.
where we are?
Each day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally went to a village and collected a great quantity of rice and other grains for the preparation of prasadam. There were many rivers on the way, and at each river there was a tax collector. Tax collectors did not hinder the Lord, however, and he showed them mercy. Finally, he reached the village of Ramuna. The deity of Gopinath in the temple at Ramuna was very attractive. Lord Chaitanya visited the temple and offered his obeisances with great devotion. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his obeisances at the lotus feet of Gopinath, of the Gopinath deity, the helmet of flowers on the head of Gopinath fell down and landed on the head of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When the deity's helmet fell upon his head, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very pleased, and thus he chanted and danced in various ways with his devotees.
Okay, so something to do in your spare time when you're sitting around at your computer just spacing out like we do sometimes. Open up Google Maps, and don't do it now. We're gonna do this one of these days. Open up Google Maps and type in Navadweep, Bengal, and type in Shantipur. That's where Advaita Acharya's house is, and then type in Jagannath Puri, and then put in walking. How long will it take to walk from Shantipur to Jagannath Puri? And then put it on satellite view and zoom in and look at all the rivers that they had to cross and look at the agriculture land, and you get some idea of what their journey was. And then you can zoom into Remuna, which is what we're about to read about. They're at the temple in Remuna, which is Kshira Chora Gopinath. So Kshira, or Kir, as Bengalis would pronounce it. Suprita, how do you pronounce Kir in, what are you, Telugu or Tamil?
Tamil.
Tamil. How do they say Kir or anything like that?
They say what?
Kir for like sweet rice, condensed milk.
Oh, paisam.
Oh, payasam, yeah. That's something different. Different name. Nothing like Kir.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh well, that's not a big help. And Chora means a thief. So the thief of the Kir. So we're going to find out how the deity got that name as a thief. Just like Muchu is a vandal. He does graffiti art. But it's spiritual. Okay, go ahead, Matthew. I think it's your turn.
Okay. All the servants of the deity were struck with wonder due to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's intense love, his exquisite beauty, and his transcendental qualities. Because of their love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they served him in many ways, and that night the Lord stayed at the temple of Gopinath. The Lord remained there because he was very eager to receive the remnants of sweet rice offered to the Gopinath deity, having heard a narration from his spiritual master, Iswar Puri, of what had happened there once. That deity was known widely as Kshira Kora Gopinath, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told his devotees the story of how the deity became so famous. Formerly, the deity had stolen a pot of sweet rice for Madhavendra Puri. Therefore, he became very famous as the Lord who stole the sweet rice.
Hey, Trevor. You'll be right after me. I'm about to read text 21. We're in chapter 4. Once, Sri Madhavendra Puri traveled to Vrindavan, where he came upon the hill known as Govardhan. Madhavendra Puri was almost mad in his ecstasy of love of Godhead. He did not know whether it was day or night. Sometimes he stood up and sometimes he fell to the ground. He could not discriminate whether he was in a proper place or not. So Madhavendra Puri seems like all of a sudden, out of the blue, we're talking about Madhavendra Puri as if everybody knows about him. He is the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master. And he's also Advaita Acharya's spiritual master. And the unique thing about him is he's got this, formerly devotees of Krishna were just like following the rules and they had a pretty straightforward thing, but Madhavendra Puri was the one that would go into these mad ecstasies. And so that came down the line to Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw his guru. He said, all right, yeah, this is the line I need to be in because this is where I'm at. So when Madhavendra Puri gets to Vrindavan, he is almost mad in his ecstasy of love of Godhead. And he did not know whether it was day or night. Sometimes he stood up and sometimes he fell to the ground. He could not discriminate whether he was in a proper place or not. After circumambulating Govardhan Hill, Madhavendra Puri went to Govinda Kund and took his bath. He then sat beneath a tree to take his evening rest. While sitting beneath a tree, an unknown cowherd boy came with a pot of milk, placed it before Madhavendra Puri, and smiling, addressed him as follows. O Madhavendra Puri, please drink the milk I have brought. Why don't you beg some food to eat? What kind of meditation are you undergoing?
When he saw the beauty of that boy, Madhavendra Puri became very sad. Hearing his sweet words, he forgot all hunger and thirst. Madhavendra Puri said, "Who are you? Where do you reside? And how do you know that I was fasting?" The boy replied, "Sir, I'm a cowherd boy and I reside in this village. In my village, no one fasts. In this village, a person can beg food from others and thus eat. Some people drink only milk. But if a person does not ask anyone for food, I supply him all his eatables."
Oh, Suprita, are you ready?
Yeah. The women who come here to take water saw you, and they supplied me with this milk and sent me to you. The boy continued, I must go very soon to milk the cows, but I shall return and take back this milk pot from you. Saying this, the boy left the place. Indeed, he suddenly could be seen no more, and Madhavendra Puri's heart was filled with wonder. After drinking the milk, Madhavendra Puri washed the pot and put it aside. He looked toward the path, but the boy never returned. Madhavendra Puri could not sleep. He sat and chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and at the end of the night he dozed a little, and his external activities stopped. In a dream, Madhavendra Puri saw the very same boy. The boy came before him and holding his hand took him to a bush in the jungle.
Back to Anandi.
Oh, the boy showed Mahavendra Puri the bush and said, I reside in this bush, and because of this, I suffer very much from severe cold, rain showers, winds, and scorching heat. Please bring the people of the village and get them to take me out of this bush. Then have them situate me nicely on top of the hill. Please construct a temple on top of that hill, the boy continued, and install me in that temple. After this, wash me with large quantities of cold water so that my body may be cleansed. For many days I have been observing you, and I have been wondering, when will Mahavendra Puri come here to serve me? I have accepted your service due to your ecstatic love for me. Thus I shall appear, and by my audience all fallen souls will be delivered.
My name is Gopal. I am the lifter of Govardhan Hill. I was installed by Vajra, and here I am the authority. When the Muslims attacked, the priest who was serving me hid me in this bush in the jungle. Then he ran away out of fear of attack. Since the priest went away, I have been staying in this bush. It is very good that you have come here. Now, just remove me with care. After saying this, the boy disappeared. Then Madhavendra Puri woke up and began to consider his dream. Madhavendra Puri began to lament. I saw Lord Krishna directly, but I could not recognize him. Thus he fell down on the ground in ecstatic love.
Madhavendra Puri cried for some time, but then he fixed his mind on executing the order of Gopala. Thus he became tranquil. After taking his morning bath, Madhavendra Puri entered the village and assembled all the people. Then he spoke as follows. The proprietor of this village, Govardhan Hari, is lying in the bushes. Let us go there and rescue him from that place. The bushes are very dense, and we will not be able to enter the jungle. Therefore, take choppers and spades to clear the way. After hearing this, all the people accompanied Madhavendra Puri with great pleasure. According to his directions, they cut down bushes, cleared a path, and entered the jungle.
When they saw the deity covered with dirt and grass, they were all struck with wonder and pleasure. After they had cleansed the body of the deity, some of them said, the deity is very heavy. No single person can move him. Since the deity was very heavy, some of the stronger men assembled to carry him to the top of the hill. Madhavendra Puri also went there. A big stone was made into a throne, and the deity was installed upon it. Another big stone was placed behind the deity for support. All the Brahmin priests of the village gathered together with 9 water pots, and water from Govinda Kund lake was brought there and filtered.
When the deity was being installed, 900 pots of water were brought from Govinda Kund. There were musical sounds of bugles and drums and the singing of women. During the festival at the installation ceremony, some people sang and some danced. All milk, yogurt, and clarified butter in the village were brought to the festival. Various foods and sweetmeats, as well as other kinds of presentations, were brought there. I am unable to describe all these. The villagers brought a large quantity of tulsi leaves, flowers, and various kinds of garments. Then Sri Madhavendra Puri personally began the Abhishek, the bathing ceremony. After all, inauspicious things were driven away by the chanting of the mantra. The deity's bathing ceremony started. First, the deity was massaged with a large quantity of oil so that his body became very glossy. Does everyone have some idea of what this deity looks like? This is, I think it's the same as the Srinathji deity in Nathdwar.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the deity eventually got moved from Vrindavan. Yeah, deities got moved around a lot. So it's a black deity, and like Krishna's got his left hand up, he's holding up Govardhan Hill, and he's just like a smiley, kind of a kid looking face. Oh yeah, there's a picture. Suprita's showing a picture. Yeah. Where did you find all those pictures? Oh, you're showing us your screen. Okay. Thank you. So the deity had been hidden, and then Krishna appeared to Madhavendra Puri and said, "Come and get me. Lead the way." We did a video of this with kids in our village because somebody had a big deity of Nachi. And, we had all the kids act this out. It was pretty cool. one of these days we'll get it up online. We'll get it in digital format. Okay, go ahead, Trevor.
After the first bathing, further bathings were conducted with Panchagavya and then the Panchamrita. And then the Mahasnana was performed with ghee and water, which had been brought in 100 pots.
Okay, you're gonna have to read the purport here since you're into cows.
61.
Yeah. So the first bathing was conducted with Panchagavya and then with Panchamrita. Then the Mahasnan was performed with ghee and water, which had been brought in 100 pots. Got that purport open?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The ingredients of Panchagavya are milk, yogurt, ghee, clarified butter, cow urine, and cow dung. All these items come from the cow. Therefore, we can just imagine how important the cow is, since its urine and stool are required for bathing the deity. The Panchamrita consists of 5 kinds of nectar: yogurt, milk, ghee, honey, and sugar. The major portion of this preparation also comes from the cow. To make it more palatable, sugar and honey are added.
Okay.
Okay, after the Mahasnana was finished, the deity was again massaged with scented oil and his body made glossy. Then the last bathing ceremony was performed with scented water kept within a conch shell. After the body of the deity was cleansed, he was dressed very nicely with new garments. Then sandalwood pulp, tulsi, garlands, and other fragrant flower garlands were placed upon the body of the deity. After the bathing ceremony was finished, incense and lamps were burned and all kinds of food offered before the deity. These foods included yogurt, milk, and as many sweetmeats as were received. The deity was first offered many varieties of food, then scented drinking water in new pots, and then water for washing the mouth. Finally, pan mixed with a variety of spices was offered.
After the last offering of Tambula and Pan, Bhoga Aratirika was performed. Finally, everyone offered various prayers and then obeisances, falling flat before the deity in full surrender. As soon as the people of the village had understood that the deity was going to be installed, they had brought their entire stocks of rice, dal, and wheat flour. They brought such large quantities that the entire surface of the top of the hill was filled. When the villagers brought their stock of rice, dal, and flour, the potters of the village brought all kinds of cooking pots, and in the morning the cooking began. 10 brahmanas cooked the food grains, and 5 brahmanas cooked both dry and liquid vegetables. The vegetable preparations were made from various kinds of spinach, roots, and fruits collected from the forest, and someone made vada and buddy, mashing dal. In this way, the brahmanas prepared all kinds of food.
Okay, what is Bada and Buddy? You probably make that. Rita?
No,
No?
I don't know.
You don't know what those are? Uh, Anandi? Do you know what
It's,
that is?
yes.
What is it?
Well, I mean, I've had it when I was a kid. It's sort of like, it's deep fried. It's made out of dal. It's a little spicy. I don't know how else to describe it.
Uh-huh.
And I
Well,
thought we weren't going to talk about food.
I know this book that's just this whole book's about 'Cause, sorry about that. Anandi's fasting today. Um,
All right.
but let's see, dahi vada.
Yes,
We
it's
all know
very
about.
delicious, right? It's delicious.
Yeah, dahi vada. It's made with grinding urdu, and then you make it into a little, I don't know, like you spoon it
Like a
out
little
into the,
ball, right?
yeah, or a flat
Then deep,
kind of thing.
then deep
You
fry
just
it.
deep fry it, and then you take it out of the ghee right away and put it into water to cool it off right away. And then it's put in with dahi, with yogurt, and then topped with tamarind chutney. And it's the best kind of vada.
Oh my
They always
God.
call it vada, dahi vada, but
Yes.
the Bengali is bada and buddy, mashing dal. So anyway, they make all kinds of stuff like that. Someone made bada and buddy by mashing dal. So they didn't have blenders and mixers and grinders back then. The grinding was a grinding stone.
Yes, a grinding stone. We had that
Oh,
grinding
yeah.
stone.
Did you
Mm.
do that too?
Yep.
And it wasn't like a mortar and pestle. It's like a kind of a big rectangular thing I've seen.
Yeah.
And the stone you grind with is like a very large, like a rolling pin almost, and you just push it along and
Hmm.
kind of roll it.
Yep.
And to make big quantity, you'd need a lot of those and a lot of people doing it. And same with grinding the wheat for making all those chapatis. Somebody would have to just grind it by hand in by stones. Um, they didn't have machines back then.
It was
So,
considered a sacred duty.
uh-huh. And the mortar, the grinding mortar that Krishna was tied to, that was, I guess that was like their blender back in the day. Um, they would grind their spices in that. They would grind, they'd probably mash the dal in there, and I don't know, would they grind their wheat in a big mortar and pestle like that? And I've seen in the Hindi movies when they show the village life, everybody's dancing around, and they got this pole, and they're um, pounding it into the mortar while everybody's singing, and the girls are like looking at the guys from the side view and trying not to look at them. And they're just dancing, and the guys saying something, and the girls pretending to ignore them. And but that's how they grind their stuff. Okay, I just wanted to point that out because like we just think of cooking a feast and mashing dal is like, okay, put it in there. It's going to make some noise, and it's done. But back then it was, they were doing all of that, and while they were doing that, they're singing songs. It mentioned there was a sound of bugles and women singing. So the whole thing was a festival, and people came and brought cooking pots, and the cooking pots were made of clay. Um, and they still cook like that at Jagannath Puri. Um, they Somebody's job is to make these clay pots. Well, we got Will's attention here because that's what he does. They're unfired pots. They are unfired pots, and they're big pots. Um, and they're made to stack one on top of the other, and they put one on the flame, and all the others are stacked up. And they say it's just this really weird miracle that the one on the top is always done before the one on the bottom.
Oh,
Kind of magic going on in that Jagannath Puri temple kitchen. Um, some kind of mysterious. So yeah, and the clay is just dug up out of the riverbed. You know, it's not like they buy it somewhere. They just dig it up, and so all of these natural things. And someone finds a couple of stones. It's a nice shape for grinding food with, um, and they might chip at it, and make it a little bit better, shape it up a little bit better. But it's just like all of these things come from the earth. And there is a verse in the Bhagavatam. There's one line in there that says, Sarva Kama Dugha Mahi. And everything that we need comes from the earth. And Prabhupada would quote that a lot and criticize. You've got these factories, you're making things out of plastic. Typically, he would end his final statement on the essay would be, you can't eat nuts and bolts. You've got factories, you're making all of these things, but you can't eat nuts and bolts. And he grew up during the time when there was no electricity or motor cars, horseless carriage. There's no such thing back then. And he grew up in Calcutta, a big city. And people were still living like that, even in the big city. It was a little different. People were hauling produce into town, but still they had to build a fire to cook. So he has a love for this kind of village life. Okay, Anandi, I interrupted your reading.
Oh, I don't know. Where was I?
You're fasting. Sorry.
Is it text 71?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, 71. Go ahead.
5 to 7 men prepared a large quantity of chapatis, which were completely covered with ghee, clarified butter, as were all the vegetables, rice, and dal. All the cooked rice was stacked on palasa leaves, which were on new cloth spread over the ground. Around the stack of cooked rice were stacks of chapatis, and all the vegetables and liquid vegetable preparations were placed in different pots and put around them. Pots of yogurt, milk, buttermilk, and shrikarini, sweet rice, cream, and solid cream were placed along the vegetables. In this way, the Anakuta ceremony was performed, and Mahavendra Puri Goswami personally offered everything to Gopala.
Many water pots were filled with scented water for drinking, and Lord Sri Gopal, who had been hungry for many days, ate everything offered to him. Although Sri Gopal ate everything offered, still, by the touch of his transcendental hand, everything remained as before. How Gopal ate everything while the food remained the same was transcendentally perceived by Madhavendra Puri Goswami. Nothing remains a secret to the devotees of the Lord. The wonderful festival and installation of Sri Gopalji was arranged in one day. Certainly all this was accomplished by the potency of Gopal. No one but a devotee can understand this. Madhavendra Puri offered water to Gopal for washing his mouth, and he gave him betel nuts to chew. Then, while Arti was performed, all the people chanted, Jai, Jai, all glories to Gopal.
All right, so back on text 79, there's a purport, and we're all going to read this together. Let's see. So will everybody turn to 79. I'll read the translation. The wonderful festival and installation of Sri Gopalji was arranged in one day. Certainly all this was accomplished by the potency of Gopal. No one but a devotee can understand this. So we'll read 2 sentences. We'll just follow the same order, and then we'll come back to the reading.
Okay. The Krishna consciousness movement spread all over the world within a very short time, within 5 years. And mundane people are very much astonished at this. However, by the grace of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, we understand that everything is possible by the grace of Krishna.
Why does Krishna have to take 5 years? In 5 days, he can spread his name and fame all over the world like wildfire.
Those who have faith in and devotion to Krishna can understand that these things happen so wonderfully by the grace of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. We are simply the instruments.
In the fierce battle of Kurukshetra, Arjuna was victorious within 18 days simply because Krishna's grace was on his side. Yatra Yogeshvara Krishna, Yatra Parto Danurdara, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
The preachers in our Krishna consciousness movement are sincere devotees of Krishna. Krishna will always be with them because he is very kind and favorable to all his devotees. Just as Arjuna and Krishna were victorious in battle of Kurukshetra, this Krishna consciousness movement will surely emerge victorious if we but remain sincere devotees of the Lord and serve the Lord according to the advice of the predecessors, the six Goswamis, and other devotees of the Lord.
Anandi, it's your turn.
Oh, sorry. As Narottam Das Thakur has stated, I can't read that, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Tandeva Charani Sevi Bhakta Sani Bisa Janam Janam Hoya E Abhihlasa. The Krishna consciousness devotee must always desire to remain in the society of devotees.
Gochu?
1 second. Which verse?
Oh no.
Which
We're in the
text?
Go ahead, Will.
Oh, I see.
Bhakta Sane Vasa. They cannot go outside the Krishna consciousness society or movement. Within the society, we must try to preserve the predecessors by preaching Caitanya Mahaprabhu's cult and spreading his name and fame all over the world.
If we attempt this seriously within the society, it will be successfully done. There is no question of estimating how this will happen in the mundane sense.
But without a doubt, it happens by the grace of Krishna. So in one day, this whole festival was organized, great big festival, with all of these Brahmins doing all this cooking and people singing, and then a big ceremony. And Prabhupada compares it to Sartre consciousness movement in 5 years. Let's see, what 5 years is he talking about? 1966 through 1971. And by that time, wow, 1971, he had gone back to India. George Harrison had made the recordings with the devotees. Hare Krishna mantra had become one of the top hits. The teenagers were playing it on their transistor radio. It became like one of the popular songs all over the world. That's amazing. In 5 years.
Wow.
But said, why should it take 5 years? Krishna can, what did he say? I just closed it down. Oh no. What verse? Oh, 79. In 5 days, he can spread his name and fame all over the world like wildfire. Those who have faith in and devotion to Krishna can understand that these things happen so wonderfully by the grace of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. We're simply the instruments. So remember we read that in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna saw all of those things in the universal form, and then Krishna said, so it's all going to happen anyway. So get up, prepare to fight. You're going to win, and you will be but an instrument in my hands. So that's what Prabhupada's referring to here. Spreading all over the world in 5 years like wildfire. Okay. So back to Will. Read your 5 verses.
Okay. We're starting on 81, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Arranging for the Lord's rest, Sri Madhavendra Puri brought a new cot, and over this he spread a new bedspread and thus made the bed ready. A temporary temple was constructed by covering the bed all around with a straw mattress. Thus there was a bed and a straw mattress to cover it. After the Lord was laid down to rest on the bed, Madhavendra Puri gathered all the brahmanas who had prepared the prasadam and said to them, "Now feed everyone sumptuously, from the children on up to the aged." All the people gathered there sat down to honor the prasadam, and by they took food. All the brahmanas and their wives were fed first. Those who took prasadam included not only the people of Govardhan village, but also those who came from other villages. They also saw the deity of Gopala and were offered prasadam to eat.
Seeing the influence of Madhavendra Puri, all the people gathered there were struck with wonder. They saw that the Anakuta ceremony, which had been performed before during the time of Krishna, was now taking place again by the mercy of Sri Madhavendra Puri. All the Brahmins present on that occasion were initiated by Madhavendra Puri into the Vaishnava cult, and Madhavendra Puri engaged them in different types of service. After taking rest, the deity must be awakened at the end of the day, and immediately some food and some water must be offered to him. When it was advertised throughout the country that Lord Gopal had appeared atop Govardhan Hill, all the people from neighboring villages came to see the deity. One village after another was pleased to beg Madhavendra Puri to allot them one day to perform the Anakuta ceremony. Thus, day after day, the Anakuta ceremony was performed for some time.
Sri Madhavendra Puri did not eat anything throughout the day, but at night, after laying the deity down to rest, he took a milk preparation. The next morning, the rendering of service to the deity began again, and people from one village arrived with all kinds of food grains. The inhabitants of the village brought to the deity of Gopal as much food grains, ghee, yogurt, and milk as they had in their village. The next day, almost as before, there was an Anakut ceremony. All the Brahmins prepared foods, and Gopal accepted them. The ideal place to execute Krishna consciousness is Brajabhumi, or Vrindavan, where people are naturally inclined to love Krishna. Krishna is naturally inclined to love them. Little purport here. Let's read that. Go ahead, Trevor.
95.
Purport to 95. Yes. Everybody will take a turn on that.
In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 11, it is said, Yayata mam prapajante tams tatayava bhajam yaham. There is a responsive cooperation between the Supreme Lord Krishna and his devotees. The more a devotee sincerely loves Krishna, the more Krishna reciprocates. So much so that a highly advanced devotee can talk with Krishna face to face.
Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita. 10:10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The actual mission of human life is to understand Krishna and return home back to Godhead.
Anandi?
Therefore, one who is sincerely engaged in the service of the Lord with love and faith can talk with Krishna and receive instructions by which he can speedily return home, back to Godhead. Today, many scholars defend the science of religion, and they have some conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But religion without practical experience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is no religion at all.
Srimad Bhagavatam describes this as a form of cheating. Religion means abiding by the orders of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
If one is not qualified to talk with him and take lessons from him, how can one understand the principles of religion? Thus, talks of religion or religious experience without Krishna consciousness are a useless waste of time.
Hey, everybody got to read except Matthew, but he has that verse memorized. Do you still have that one down, Matthew?
I recognize it when she was reading it.
Uh-huh. Let's hear you recite what you can from memory.
Oh boy. How does it start?
Desham,
Tesham satatata yuktanam
Bhajatam,
priti purvakam.
all right, let's try those lines again. Desham,
Tesham satatata yuktanam vachatam priti purvakam.
Dadami,
Buddhi yogam tam
come on, everybody's rooting for you.
yena mam, and now I'm cheating, yena mam upayanti te.
All right, you got to work on that.
Okay.
You've got it. It's in there. You had it in there. Trevor, did you learn that? Were you with us that day when we learned that one?
I don't know anything.
I don't want to admit. Lucha, do you know that one?
Yeah, it's my favorite verse.
Oh, go ahead. Recite it for us.
Tesham Sattata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Bhuri Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayanti Te.
Preacher, did you learn that one?
I just know the first line. I don't know the second.
Say the first line then.
Tesham satata yuktanam vajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti.
Okay.
I'm
That's
not
great.
confident.
That was great. Just write it down and stick it in a few different places, like, on your mirror in the bathroom. So you see it first thing in the morning, and when you're brushing your teeth, you can think of it. And I really like how Prabhupada, he just put a whole different spin on that verse. He starts off the purport saying, Yayata mam prapadyanti, that there's a way Krishna reciprocates. As you approach him, he will reciprocate with you. There is a responsive cooperation between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. The more a devotee sincerely loves Krishna, the more Krishna reciprocates. So much so, a highly advanced devotee can talk with Krishna face to face. Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita. Isham Satatai Yuktanam. That's just so wild. I never really thought of that verse meaning Krishna will talk to you. But
Actually, the reason why it's my favorite verse is because I was reading it in my little book that I told you about once before, by Giriraj Swami, I think it was.
okay.
Your old friend, right? You were the brahmachari together.
Oh, Mahanidi.
Mahanidi, sorry. Yeah, so that little book of Krishna's 64 qualities, there's a little piece in there where he quotes this verse. And it's a favorite. I always, whenever I open it at random, I always turn to that page. And so it kind of became my favorite I started thinking, okay, Krishna wants me to see this this verse. And then once I was riding back from a festival, a Hare Krishna festival back home, and my guru came on and this lecture, and he starts talking about um, the Damodara Leela, and he brings up that verse, and it was I went, without going into details about why it was so profound to hear him say that verse at that time. It was just so obvious that it was Krishna talking to me through like my guru, and through through that lecture coming on at that time. Everything about it just lined up so that it was very obvious that Krishna is actually speaking to me. And so that's, yeah, I have a very, and so it's interesting that you just said, that, yeah, Prabhupada is saying that that verse is about Krishna speaking, to the devotee.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, I gotta look it up. Let's see if I can find it right quick.
What's the translation to chapter 4, verse 11?
As they approach me, I reciprocate accordingly. It's something like that.
Okay.
As they approach me, I reward them accordingly.
Everyone is on my path, or something like that.
Yeah, all men follow my path in all respects. But there was a verse. Let's just see if it's going to come up. But it's toward the end of the Bhagavad Gita. One of the purports, Prabhupada says this freedom of a devotee is not understood by other religionists. The devotee is free because the devotee, Krishna speaks to the devotee from his heart and prompts the devotee on what to do. And then those things that the devotee does is confirmed by the guru externally.
Yeah.
Internally, the devotee is prompted by the Lord what to do. So that ties into this verse too. Why did this come up? Oh, and look at the verse here of text 95. The ideal place to execute Krishna consciousness is Brajabhumi, or Vrindavan, where the people are naturally inclined to love Krishna, and Krishna is naturally inclined to love them. So that's what this is all about. He's talking about the Vrindavan people and how they love Krishna, so naturally Krishna loves them. So they're in. And then Prabhupada makes this point. Practicing religion without getting any experience of God is no religion at all. Bhagavatam describes this as a form of cheating. It's really, when you know what he's talking about, it's like, wow, this is amazing. How he's pulling these things in and saying, that's what this is saying. And he's tying all of this stuff together in such a way that, it shakes people up. Religion means abiding by the orders of Krishna. If one is not qualified to talk with him and take lessons from him, how can one understand the principles of religion? Thus, talks of religion or religious experience without Krishna consciousness are a useless waste of time. All right, well, that's what we're going after. Okay, that was text 95, and whose turn is it to read now?
Mitch, I'm going to run.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. We're going to try to make this end every night by 8:15.
Okay.
Trevor to everyone. Trevor's got to go? Or you're just saying, oh, that's great. Trevor is just saying Prabhupada is great. Thank you. But who read up to text 95? Who was that? Was that Muchu or Will? Who was it? What's it mean?
I don't remember.
Let's just say, Matthew, you read now.
Okay.
96.
Throngs of people came from different villages to see the deity of Gopal, and they took Mahaprasadam sumptuously. When they saw the super excellent form of Lord Gopal, all their lamentation and unhappiness disappeared. All the villages in neighboring Vrajabhumi, Vrindavan, became aware of the appearance of Gopal, and all the people from these villages came to see him. Day after day, they all performed the Anakuta ceremony. In this way, not only the neighboring villages, but all the other provinces came to know of Gopal's appearance. Thus, people came from all over, bringing a variety of presentations. The people of Mathura, who are very big capitalists, also brought various presentations and offered them before the deity in devotional service. Thus, countless presentations of gold, silver, garments, scented articles, and eatables arrived. The store of Gopal increased daily.
One very rich Kshatriya of the royal order constructed a temple. Someone made cooking utensils, and someone constructed boundary walls. Each and every family residing in the land of Rajabhumi contributed one cow. In this way, thousands of cows became the property of Gopal. Eventually, 2 Brahmins in the renounced order arrived from Bengal, and Madhavendra Puri, who liked them very much, kept them in Vrindavan and gave them all kinds of comforts. These 2 were then initiated by Madhavendra Puri, and he entrusted them with the daily service of the Lord. This service was performed continuously, and the worship of the deity became very gorgeous. Thus, Madhavendra Puri was very pleased. In this way, the deity worship in the temple was very gorgeously performed for 2 years. Then, one day, Madhavendra Puri had a dream.
In his dream, Madhavendra Puri saw Gopal, who said, "My bodily temperature still has not decreased. Please bring sandalwood from the Malay province and smear the pulp over my body to cool me. Bring sandalwood pulp from Jagannath Puri. Kindly go quickly. Since no one else can do it, you must." After having this dream, Madhavendra Puri Goswami became very glad due to ecstasy of love of Godhead, and in order to execute the command of the Lord, he started east toward Bengal. Before leaving, Madhavendra Puri made all arrangements for regular deity worship, and he engaged different people in various duties. Then, taking up the order of Gopal, he started for Bengal. When Madhavendra Puri arrived at the house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur, the Acharya became very pleased upon seeing the ecstatic love of Godhead manifest in Madhavendra Puri.
Advaita Acharya begged to be initiated by Madhavendra Puri. After initiating him, Madhavendra Puri started for South India. Going into South India, Sri Madhavendra Puri visited Remuna, where Gopinatha is situated. Upon seeing the beauty of the deity, Madhavendra Puri was overwhelmed. In the corridor of the temple, from which people generally viewed the deity, Madhavendra Puri chanted and danced. Then he sat down there and asked the Brahmana what kinds of foods they offered to the deity. From the excellence of the arrangement, Madhavendra Puri understood by deduction that only the best food was offered. Madhavendra Puri thought, I shall inquire from the priest what foods are offered to Gopinathan, so that by making arrangements in our kitchen, we can offer similar foods to Sri Gopala.
Go ahead, Mucha.
When the Brahmana priest was questioned about this matter, he explained in detail what kinds of foods were offered to the deity of Gopinath. The Brahmana priest said, in the evening the deity is offered sweet rice in 12 earthen pots. Because the taste is as good as nectar amrita, it is called amrita kali. This sweet rice is celebrated throughout the world as Gopinath Shira. It is not offered anywhere else in the world. While Madhavendra Puri was talking with the Brahmana priest, the sweet rice was placed before the deities in offering. Hearing this, Madhavendra Puri thought as follows: if without my asking a little sweet rice is given to me, I can then taste it and make a similar preparation to offer my Lord Gopal. Madhavendra Puri became greatly ashamed when he desired to taste this rice, and he immediately began to think of Lord Vishnu. While he was thus thinking of Lord Vishnu, the offering was completed and the arati ceremony began.
Okay,
After the
it's Will's turn.
Uh, After the arati was finished, Madhavendra Puri offered his obeisances to the deity and then left the temple. He did not say anything more to anyone. Madhavendra Puri avoided begging. He was completely unattached and indifferent to material things. If without his begging someone offered him some food, he would eat, otherwise he would fast. A Paramahamsa like Madhavendra Puri is always satisfied in the loving service of the Lord. Material hunger and thirst cannot impede his activities. When he desired to taste a little sweet rice offered to the deity, he considered that he had committed an offense by desiring to eat what was being offered to the deity. Madhavendra Puri left the temple and sat down in the village marketplace, which was vacant. Sitting there, he began to chant. In the meantime, the temple priest laid the deity down to rest.
Finishing his daily duties, the priest went to take rest. In a dream, he saw the Gopinath deity come to talk to him, and he spoke as follows. O priest, please get up and open the door of the temple. I have kept one pot of sweet rice for the sannyasi, Madhavendra Puri. This pot of sweet rice is just behind my cloth curtain. You did not see it because of my tricks. A sannyasi named Madhavendra Puri is sitting in the vacant marketplace. Please take this pot of sweet rice from behind me and deliver it to him. Awaking from the dream, the priest immediately rose from bed and thought it wise to take a bath before entering the deity's room. He then opened the temple door.
Okay, that's about all the time we have for tonight. So we keep going anyway?
I have to go. I actually have to another meeting.
All right. So we're going to leave this as a cliffhanger. So we'll start at, let's see. Let's start at text 120 tomorrow night. Somebody make a note of that. And got it in his head. 120. That's a number you could remember as an electrician. Or maybe 110 would be easier. Okay.